Okay, great. I will then go ahead and call to order the Tuesday, May 3rd regular meeting of the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors. First, I'll hand the meeting over to Manager Centrise Martin, and she'll let us all know how we can best participate in this hybrid format meeting and take a roll call of the Board of Supervisors. Centrise?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the members of the board, staff, and public for joining us this evening for the May 3rd regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. This meeting has been properly advertised in accordance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act as a hybrid meeting with the option to attend online using Zoom telemeeting platform, and the main meeting room has been made available for members of the public to attend in person, as well as Supervisor Strickland and Supervisor Stevens joins us in person this evening. If you are joining the Zoom meeting tonight as a member of the public or as an agent to speak on behalf of an agenda item, please say your name, municipality of residence, and the topic you wish to speak on with the chairwoman when the chair calls on you. Prior to commencing the meeting, I have just a few short procedural items to cover. First, members of the public are asked to remain muted during the meeting to prevent any ambient noise from disrupting the meeting. If a member of the public is acknowledged by the chair, they may unmute their microphone for their question or comment. Secondly, board members are asked to indicate their name when motioning or seconding a motion so that the minutes may accurately reflect the action taken. Finally, a roll call of the Board of Supervisors will now be taken to ensure that all members can hear and interact using the Zoom meeting platform. Please indicate that you are here when your name is called. Ms. Caldwell?
Here.
Ms. Dineni?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Ms. Strickland?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Present.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Before we move to citizens' input, I wanted to briefly announce that the Board of Supervisors did have an executive session on April 28th on a matter of land acquisition. With that, let's go ahead and move on to citizens' input. Would anyone care to make a comment on anything that is not on the agenda this evening? Ms. Caldwell.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to share with the folks, recognizing that this has been probably quite a challenging day for quite a few of us. In order to stand in solidarity with our community, there will be a rally for reproductive rights at 2 p.m. this upcoming Sunday in front of the Allen Street gates. We do understand that it is Penn State graduation, so we're encouraging folks to park with a little bit of distance and give themselves time to arrive as scheduled. But I just wanted to share that with the community at large, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you so very much. Would anyone else care to make any comments on anything not on the agenda? Okay, with that, let's move on to the approval of the minutes. We have two items for approval tonight. The April 19th Ms. Martin, I apologize. I believe that we need to make a slight adjustment to the agenda before moving on. Yes.
Yes, that is correct, Madam Chair. So the presentation that's currently on for the special report section, presentation on the MS4 by our township engineer, it needs to be removed and will be placed on a future agenda item, or excuse me, regular meeting agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, sometimes I forget those little items in the beginning of the meeting. Okay, now let's move on to the approval of the minutes. We have two items, April 19th regular meeting minutes and April 12th work session meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to either of those documents?
Laura, I have a question, really.
Yep.
So when I was just reviewing, it's more of a process question, so I'm not sure whether Centrise you can answer this or Laura, but I I noticed some of the attendees listed as being in attendance. It wasn't complete. So like on the minutes from the 19th, some of the people that were missing was like Eric Nornberg was not listed as being there. Dr. Lara Fowler wasn't listed. She was in the agenda, but not listed as in attendance and things like that. And I also, then it got me to thinking that sometimes with this hybrid format, people pop in and out. And how do we best capture, even if they're only there for just a little bit, how are we capturing that to list them as attendees, and is it important?
Yeah, that's a great question, Supervisor Stevens. So when folks are coming in person, we have a sign-in sheet, and that is what we've traditionally always used to document who's in attendance. Those that are attending on the hybrid, are attending via Zoom, we currently have not captured who's in attendance unless if they made a comment.
Okay. And is it important that we list them as being in attendance, or is it just we're giving it our best effort?
So since we've had moved into this hybrid format, we have not captured anyone that's attended online unless if they've made a comment. So our best effort is to capture when those are speaking, but we have not captured who comes in and out of the meetings.
Okay. Thank you.
Nick?
Hi, Laura. Actually, there is a way to capture who attends Zoom meetings on the back end. If we would like to start doing that, you can export all attendees by name into an Excel sheet. And if we would like to do that in the future, I could help with that if possible.
Interesting. All right. I will, let's see. Do we want to have a discussion about this at some point in time? Supervisors, if you're interested in doing that, like maybe if you're interested, Patty, in talking about future engagement with those individuals or something, we can do that. So we can have that in a future conversation should we desire.
Okay.
And or maybe the manager has thoughts and she wants to talk to staff. I don't know. I had not thought about that. All right, so for now, we won't be including on the minutes. So is there any other proposed changes or corrections for the minutes? Okay, I'm seeing none. I would entertain a motion.
This is Patty. I move that we approve the April 19th, 2022 regular Board of Supervisor minutes and the April 12th Board of Supervisors work session minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Hillary. I second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. All right, none. Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. I am not seeing Mr. Keogh in the Zoom, am I? No. And Mr. Keogh is up next with our report for the Center Region Park and Recreation Authority. He mentioned to me he might not be able to make it on time. Is he there in the room, Centuries?
No, he is
Okay.
not. We have Miss Vicki Fong in the room with us, though, however.
I'm sorry?
We have Miss Vicki Fong with us in person.
Okay,
as a
great.
member of the
Thank
public.
you. Thanks. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you. Okay, so since Mr. Keogh is not yet with us, we will hold the next item until later in the meeting. I do believe he's planning on joining us. So we're going to bump that down to when he joins us. So with that, we'll move on to special reports. So first up under that is Mr. Eric Anderson, our Director of Finance, with our first quarter financial report. Oh, I'm sorry, Tiara, I'm sorry.
I did just have a quick question because A is technically diversity, equity, and inclusionary initiatives. And so my question is, what is there that we need to do to actually get an initiative going so we can have a report? Because I have seen no report this whole time. So I'd like to know what is there that needs to be done to get that kind of stuff rolling, and I'd be willing to help with that. That was my question.
I guess one thought I had about that is in our strategic planning process, I was hoping to have some conversations about that so we could kind of fill out our thoughts on what we would want to see in that report. That's been a little bit delayed. that was really my main thought about that we would have that conversation emerge through that strategic planning process. I do think we're going to kind of pick that back up, but if we didn't pick that back up relatively soon, like in a way that, in a timing that, you're comfortable with, we could always put it on the consent agenda and have a specific conversation about that too. So either way is fine, but those were my only thoughts. If other people had thoughts, I'd certainly welcome them.
Okay, and you're saying that there can be things outside of just outside of what we put in the strategic plan, or everything that we put in the strategic plan needs to be covering the DE&I initiatives?
I think what I was saying is that with the report item, which is a new item this year, my thought on how we would be able to communicate to staff and have a conversation about sort of what we want to see in that report to us. My thought is it would happen during the strategic planning process. Does that answer the question that you had? I'm not sure. I don't think it has to only be then, but that's how I thought we would kind of fill that content out of that new report item.
No, okay, no, I definitely understand that. I guess my question is like for instance, when Mr. Kassab came and we agreed, is that, do those things go within that initiative, or is that outside of that initiative? I don't know if Centrise can answer that as well.
That's probably
Yeah,
Centrise,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'm happy to provide some insight. So when Mr. Kassab came, he was introducing the Community Diversity Conference. And so when he did that, as well as asking the board to give consideration to making a contribution, so that actually went on the agenda as a discussion item. But generally, for example, I was just in contact with the co-chair for policing in communities of color, and there's an opportunity for an update on the work that they're doing. So in that, that's a really great example as to a presentation that the Board of Supervisors will receive at a future meeting that would go and be categorized under DEI within special reports. And I think very similar to what Chair Deneni was saying too, in the future as staff is working on any type of project or initiatives that might fall in that category, an update or a presentation to the board, we certainly would list it within special reports DEI. And I think what will largely be the driver of that is the strategic plan. So once we have that strategic plan update formally approved and adopted by the board, and staff starts to move forward to achieve the goals set forth by the board, you'll see the updates and the presentations at the staff level to the board under that category. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, guys. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Centrise.
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, so next up then is the Township and Fiscal Responsibility report category. Back to you, Mr. Eric Anderson. I'm not hearing you, Eric. I don't know if I should be.
How's that?
Now I'm hearing you. Thank you.
Yeah, I was muted. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks. I thank you for the board. My name is Eric Anderson. I'm the finance director for the township. I'd like to report on the first quarter results for the township ending March 31st. What I like to do, since it's the first quarter and not a whole lot goes on in the first quarter, I do a little description of how the township funds are organized. Let me do a page down. Yes, I can. There we go. A little tricky. Okay. This slide describes the different funds and fund groups of the township. The general fund is the main fund of the township, making up over 50% of all the governmental fund transactions. Capital project funds are separated by use or type Each fund has a specific restrictions for use. The special revenue funds include assessments or revenue sources other than general taxes. For this year, the stormwater fund is now considered a special revenue fund because we have the fee. Last year was a capital reserve fund or capital projects fund. The general obligation account is our debt service account, and it's used for debt payments. So, excuse me. I like to look at the cash. Cash seems to me is a key indicator, probably the most important, other than revenue and expenses and fund balance. But cash balances are essentially fund balances. And if you look at 3 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, for the first 3 months, you'll see that surprisingly, general fund cash is increasing. That does not really affect the stormwater fund fee yet because it's too early in the year. And you'll see the general obligation account drop significantly because we issued bonds in 2020, actually it's late 2019, that skewed that. So the total cash is actually doing very well. And a lot of that is based on that some collections early in the year, but not a whole lot of spending at this point. So here are the year-to-date actual amounts for revenue expenditures by fund group. General fund looks like it lost some money in the first quarter. Special revenue did well because we got a lot of the money from both the stormwater fee and the liquid fuels monies. Capital projects pretty balanced. Debt service, we haven't paid any debt yet for the year, and the total is a positive, as opposed to last year, which was a $1.5 million decrease, and that was basically paying for the new building. So here's your tax revenue. You can see this year we've collected a little bit more in 2020 in March. Bills come out March 1st. Typically, the discount period ends April 30th. So you don't see a whole lot of real estate collections in March, but we did collect some. Earned income tax is a little bit down for this year. A lot of that is timing at Penn State. Transfer tax is pretty close to our the 2020. LST is a little bit down as well. Nothing significant, nothing to be concerned about. Okay, stormwater fund revenue, and this is ending March 31st. We put the stormwater fee on the real estate bills, so they'll follow very closely, actually directly with the real estate payments. And I had told Centrise, when I looked at as of today or yesterday, we did collect over $1 million in stormwater fee revenue in for the year, but that was mostly done in April. Oops. Key receipts, liquid fuels grant money, we got March, $638,000. Income taxes, $1.5 million. PSU settlement, $152,000. And we're looking at another 1.0, a little bit over $1 million for the COVID funding, the same as last year. We have not yet received that. Key expenditures, there wasn't a whole lot, so I got a little bit in detail. We paid Center Region COG $187,000, Parks and Rec $222,000. This is the first quarter bills. Denture and denture, tree surgeons $58,000. Health insurance $240,000. McCormick Taylor, Schlow, Rock Salt, M&B services. On a $15-20 million budget, some amounts are big, but Other ones are small. Yep. And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thanks so much, Eric. That was a great overview. Appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing any via Zoom. Anybody in the room?
I have a question. Do you have an idea when
Yeah.
we might be getting the, was it the rescue plan funds?
The remaining amount of money from the ARPA, we do not, as of yet, have an idea of when we'll get those funds, but we're anticipating to get them sometime this year. maybe-
Second quarter, yeah.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, let's move on. Thank you very much, Eric. Let's go ahead and move on to the COG and Regional Committee reports. First up is Executive Committee. The agenda is in the packet. We already had the general forum meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Moving on, Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization Coordinating Committee. Lisa.
My report's in the packet. Just one comment I wanted to make was on the Transportation Alternatives Grant that the township received for Pine Grove Mills streetscape and safety improvements. So we'll be getting more information on that, but it's a really significant grant, so we're very, very pleased about that. I was able to see Tom Zilla at his retirement picnic and thank them for their work. But Trish Meeks also did a lot of work. And then obviously the township staff here put in a lot of time and effort on that grant application. It's very exciting, given that we're still in the middle of our Pine Grove Mills mobility study, to know that that kind of funding is coming in, and that PennDOT could see the need and the interest that the community has in making those improvements. So more information to come on that, but it's very positive.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Sorry, were you finished? I'm very excited about that. Okay, any questions or comments? Yes, I'll add, that's very exciting. One potential part of that grant money, I know I'm jumping the gun here. We haven't even officially gotten it yet, I guess, but might be, that a sidewalk there on that dangerous road, really increasing walkability and connecting to a side street that leads into Rothrock. So that's going to provide, fingers crossed, if we can do that part of the project, access of that whole village, safe access right into Rothrock by foot, which is very neat. So thank you. Many thanks for that grant. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to the next committee report, which is COG Parks Governance Special Committee. My report's in the packet. I'm going to point out a couple highlights. I think that one really important conceptual advance in our conversations in that committee is our effort to separate out the regionally funded parks system and the municipally funded park system. The reason I think that's so important is because each of those parts of the system have different needs and different issues and different funding mechanisms. So it's very, very helpful conceptually that we pull them apart when we're talking about this issue. So that's one item. That's, I think, quite an advance. You can see the agenda is laid out in that manner, asking about the regional parks and the municipal parks, regional and municipal. Another item I think is one of the main takeaways from that meeting is that we learned together, even though some of us knew some portion thereof of this thought, but we learned together as a group that the main, or really the reason that the Park Authority was set up so many years ago was because the COG was not legally able to borrow money at that time. So that law has changed, and now the COG is legally able to borrow money. So when we're talking about the role of the authority, one might think if they're not needed necessarily to borrow money, that they could fill some other important role that they're really needed for. For example, fundraising in maybe a foundation format, similar to what the library has. So that right there, right, those two things are, it's a lot conceptually. So I will, I'll stop there. Any questions? Okay, I'm seeing no questions. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Facilities Committee report. Patty.
Well, I'll provide a written report, since the meeting was just this morning, for the next meeting. But just as a heads up coming your way, Tiara, in Human Resources, I think you will be looking at the job description for the Facilities Coordinator. And one of the discussions that we talked about a lot today was somehow including verbiage that the person that gets hired sort of looks at all of their duties with a lens of sustainability. And that was important that got wrapped into that somehow. So we did move to pass it on to HR, so it will be coming your way. And I can't remember whose finance, or I'm not even sure where it's going next, but just the other thing they talked about was in the library, apparently there's a leak. They've had a couple of leaks. And so the whole HVAC system, they've been trying to work on it, but they have to take care of these dielectric unions that are leaking, and they're in tricky places to get to. So somehow that's diverting any HVAC work until then, and they'll be looking to take some money for that. So that will be coming to whoever's in finance. And that's about it, but I will put my report together for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patty. Any questions? All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next committee report, which is Human Resources Committee. Oh, I'm sorry. Tiara, was there anything you wanted to highlight from the previous Human Resources Committee report? I believe.
No, I reported on it last meeting and I submitted it. So anything updates, I will be bringing it towards the next meeting.
Thank you very much. And I guess I'll just add one tidbit that is in my head about HR wages as the budget comes up. And we've talked a little bit tonight about both SCLO and the Park Authority. I just wanted to mention that for a long time, it's been on my radar that it seems like some of the library employees are still not getting really paid up to, I don't know, they were at one point lagging behind. I don't know if it's been addressed yet. Let's say that. And I would appreciate knowing that. So if anybody receives that information throughout this next few months in budgeting process, and we can work on that project together through the COG, that would be great. I'm not even sure that's still an issue, but that was kind of like, it's been something outstanding. All right. That said, let's go ahead and move on to staff reports. The township manager's report is up first. Ms. Martin, would you care to highlight anything?
Yes, I'll share with you just a few items. I'd like to share with the board that the township did receive the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence. So I applaud Mr. Eric Anderson, and the Board of Supervisors can be happy with that accomplishment. I also would like to point out that the change in the regular meeting from May 17th to May 16th did result in CNET's, a change with the televised CNET schedule. So while CNET certainly can participate in Zoom and allow for the streaming in real time, it will not be available and televised in real time, but will be available on the CNET channel. and of course on their website for the public to watch in the future. And aside with that, that's all of the main items I wanted to bring to the board's attention this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for the manager? I have one item of potential follow-up. I was noticing in the CRPR report for revenue from our parks that there was no revenue over the last quarter. And so I deduced that they had not yet implemented, they were going to implement a policy whereby third parties that stored their own personal sports and or recreation equipment in our parks were going to be charged a nominal fee and asked to store them in a certain way, and we were going to be notified maybe. I'm not sure where that policy is, but I don't think it was implemented because there was a fee didn't show up, if that makes sense. So I wondered if we could possibly ask, just as a preliminary question, could we just ask to see what that policy is about our own park? So could we just maybe ask CRPR just what that policy entails? And then along with that, some of the recreation equipment that's been stored at Fairbrook is still being stored within another amenity, kind of blocking the use of that amenity. If they could get that amenity cleared out, that would be great. So that's just a little follow-up. So any other items? Okay, any questions for any other staff members' reports? We've got Public Works Director report, Planning and Zoning report. Planning and Zoning Director's not here, but we do have Planning and Zoning staff with us this evening. Any other questions? All right. Oh, Lisa, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment on the Public Works report. Just another thank you to Dave Modricker, seeing that he's here, for his work and his staff's work on the grant for the Pine Grove Mills Transportation Alternatives Grant. And as he noted in his report, the county is also contributing to those improvements too. So a thank you to them. And then I just wanted to say that the Arbor Day celebration was really nice at Tudick Park. So another round of applause for that. That was very, very well done and well attended and enjoyable. So thanks to you and your staff for that.
Ditto on all of that. And you too can share in some of the joy that was the Arbor Day celebration, because the pop-up Arboretum is going to remain up for some period of time in Tudick Park, it's just a great idea of our new arborist. So thanks so much, Lisa, for mentioning that. And yes, thank you so much to Larry. I'm sorry, say his last name, Dave?
Yeah, Larry
McGinnis. To Larry McGinnis, and thank you, Dave, so much for supporting.
I heard a lot of positive feedback from Arbor Day, so thank you for the kind words, and I will pass them on to Larry.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes.
All right, and let's go ahead then and move on to our unfinished business. First up, we've got the decision on the conditional use application for Flag Lot, and this will be introduced by Mr. Jeff Ressler, our zoning administrator. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, and glad to be here. So we have an application for a conditional use permit for the property at 139 Farmstead Lane, tax parcel 022-306, to subdivide a flag lot that has been filed with the township by Pantera Engineering on behalf of their client, Farmstead Developer LLC. The applicant is requesting to subdivide the lot and create a flag lot. The township zoning ordinance and the MPC require a public hearing on the application, and the board must take action to approve or deny the application within 45 days following the hearing. At a regular meeting held on April 19th, 2022, the board held a public hearing and received testimony from township staff. Provided with the agenda is a draft decision prepared by the Director of Planning and Zoning based on the record from the public hearing held on April 19th, 2020. No additional testimony will be taken at tonight's meeting. The board is asked to review and discuss the draft decision and take final action to approve or deny the conditional use permit.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, so we are to review what's been provided. And I'm sorry, I have a little spider crawling right across my desk right now. So hang on. Okay. We are to review this. So I am going to ask anyone, would you care to make any comments on this item before I entertain a motion? I'm seeing and I'm hearing none. I'll go ahead and I'll entertain the motion found in your agenda.
Supervisors approve the conditional use of permit application for 139 Farmstead Lane, subject to the conditions described in the Director of Planning and Zoning's written decision.
This is
This is
Pat.
Hillary. I'll second it.
Who did that? I can't tell. We'll pick one. Okay, we'll pick Hillary for the minutes to ease the recording secretary's job. Thank you. All right. Any discussion on the matter? Okay, seeing none, looks like we're ready for a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously, and thanks so much, Jeff. All right, we're on to new business, and I do know that Bill Keogh has arrived for his report. So I think what I'm going to do, if it's okay with folks, I'm going to pass the consent agenda first, and then we'll go on to Bill and then the proclamations. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and to accept the treasurer's report.
This is Patty. I move that we accept the treasurer's report and accept the consent agenda.
This is Tia. I second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to Mr. Bill Keogh. Bill, are you able to get to the podium for us? And
You can go to the podium.
we're looking forward to hearing your report.
And the owl will just focus and feature you as you speak.
Okay, so the podium is where you want. I appreciate your allowing me to be a little late tonight. Most of you know I am an umpire, and we are near the end of the season, and we're trying to squeeze rain-out games in for the high schools. And so it looks like I'm working all 5 nights this week, and tonight was one of them. At 11 o'clock this morning, they told me that I was going to do a doubleheader, not just a single game. So it even pushed me a little later. I did submit a written report from the Center Region Park and Recreation Authority for all of you. A couple of things that I would highlight. Yes, we did have groundbreaking for the new park last week, and we're excited that things are now moving along, and in fact, everybody can see the orange fence if you look to your right as you're going down towards the borough on Whitehall Road. I will mention that tomorrow morning, tomorrow, and I don't know, maybe Laura, you know when the COG Finance Committee is meeting, but I know they're meeting either at 12:15 or at 8:30 tomorrow, and they will be discussing the staffing study that was done on behalf of the Center Region Park and Recreation Authority and its agency staff. They will start that process of moving that through the COG system with regard to reviewing recommendations for the 23 2023 budget. So I just mentioned that in case any of you want to go and hear what the Finance Committee for COG has to say about that particular study. I also wanted to highlight the fact that we were asked, and I don't know how this occurred, but because it was a long-standing situation, but the Park and Recreation capital funding budget, and there are actually 4 of them, never was part of the general COG capital funding program. And it became of interest that the COG capital funding program incorporate the capital funding needs of the Park and Recreation Authority as well. And so this has been done and is going through the system now to be incorporated in the larger COG capital funding program so that you can go to one location and have the capital funding necessary for the region that includes then the Park and Recreation Authority. In the past, the Park and Recreational Capital Program was part of the funding program that was connected only to the authority and its report. Now it'll be incorporated so that you have that bigger picture, and that was requested. I know Laura was part of the requesting for that kind of assimilation, and we have been able to complete that at this point. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to either try and answer them or defer and find an answer for any of them.
Thank you so much, Bill. I'll just make one slight, adjustment, is that tomorrow, the HR committee, I think you said finance, I'm not sure, but the HR committee tomorrow will be reviewing that, that proposal by CRPR for staffing. And I believe, Tiara, that's a 12:15 start for that.
Yes, thank you for that Thank you for that correction, Laura.
Sure.
One too many strikes and outs and balls today. And I'm on the foggy side of my day as opposed to the bright and sunny side of my day. So thank you very much. It is the
No
HR
problem.
committee that is going to be looking
problem.
at those positions.
Thank you very much, Bill. I guess the only other item it's really directed towards Centrise, towards the manager and towards the board. One thing I'm really interested in as we move forward, again, it's all forward looking, as we move forward into the COG budget season, our budget season, and we have a really good idea of the needs that we're going to be asked to meet. If we can get that in a one-pager, just a very brief synopsis, and what do I mean by that? I mean all of the COG agencies' staffing needs in one snapshot. I know there's capital and then there's staffing, and I'm flipping back and forth, I'm sorry, that's a little confusing. But I think my point here is that staffing study is just one of, 6 COG agencies? I'm not sure. So it's just 1/6 of the eventual requests that we'll receive between now and November, before then, between now and September. And it would be great if in one snapshot, kind of a contextualized overall way, we could see those requests. So that's kind of, Bill, if you can help on the authority side, and to Centrise, if you can help us as elected officials get that information from COG as early as it's available, that would be fantastic. And Bill, I'm sorry, that really isn't for you. That's mostly a larger COG question. So, any questions for Bill specifically on CRPR items? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much for making the time for us tonight, Bill.
Thank you,
And,
thank you for
Yep, and for all you do.
thank you for allowing me to alter your schedule to meet the umpiring needs of our high schools today. Thank you.
Happy to. All right, with that, let's move on to a proclamation of the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania, proclaiming May 16th through May 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Service Week. This will be introduced by Ms. Centrise Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Provided with the agenda is a copy of the proclamation officially designating May 16th through May 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Service Week. Also provided with the agenda is a letter from Mr. Tim Nelson, Executive Director of Seven Mountains EMS Council. And provided with the agenda is a recommended motion for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Centrise. I'd like to please consider it at this time.
This is Hillary. I recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the proclamation designating May 16th through May 21st as Emergency Medical Service Week in Ferguson Township.
This is Patty, I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. Any comments? Thanks so much, Centrise, for getting this together for us. Did I hear another comment from the room?
It was just me. Just again, I was going to, I think I said it at a previous meeting, but it's worth saying again that it really is sort of a crisis point in terms of finances for our EMS services here in the center region. And so any support that could be thrown to Center Lifelink or any of that would be much appreciated. Financial support in particular.
Thanks, Patty. I think one way to move that forward, if we're serious about that agenda, is to move it forward through the Public Safety Committee, just in terms of a conversation, because it has come up in finance. It's not a COG agency, but it has come up in finance that multiple municipalities provide some level of funding without any kind of a coordinated effort. So it just might be an opportunity for you to mention it to your peers, even if it doesn't end up going through the COG system.
Right.
So
I think
would
it is on
certainly be
our
supporting
agenda
that.
for our next meeting.
Sounds good. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. We are ready to take a voice vote. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion passes unanimously, and we will move on to a proclamation of the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania, proclaiming May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month 2022 in Ferguson Township, also introduced by Ms. Centrise Martin, and I do believe that Ms. Vicki Fong is also in the room with us this evening, so she may also want to say a few words. With that, Centrise.
Thank you. So provided with the agenda is a copy of the proclamation designating May 2022 to be Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in Ferguson Township. I'll share that there is a recommended motion for the board's consideration, but I'd also like to introduce to the board Ms. Vicki Fong, who is here to read the proclamation and perhaps make a few comments. So Ms. Fong, you're welcome. Oh, yes, so I'm happy to pull up, yep. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up on the Zoom screen here with it in the main meeting room, a copy of the proclamation.
Thank you so much, Centrise, and thank you so much, Ms. Fong, for being with us this evening, working on this, and reading our proclamation for us.
Yes, if you are able to read it, it might be a little closer.
Might be able to get it on my tablet.
Are you able to see it there?
All right. Now,
Pull it down just a little bit.
Let's see if I might be able to get it on my tablet here.
Yes, I'm sorry, there's an issue here.
Oh, come on.
I can bring it up here, but your tablet might be easier if you
Yeah.
have it.
So used to having paper. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You might need to keep touching it so it stays lit.
Thank you, Patty.
All righty, thank you very much for this opportunity. The proclamation proclaiming May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in Ferguson Township. Whereas Ferguson Township celebrates the ethnic and cultural diversity that makes up the rich fabric of our community. And whereas the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors stands in solidarity with the Asian Pacific Islander Desi American community in the township and around the world against the systemic racism, xenophobia, and misogyny that has afflicted our fellow citizens for centuries in this country and around the world. And whereas, according to the United States Census Bureau estimates, the APA population in Ferguson Township exceeds 15% of our citizenry. And whereas some residents of Ferguson Township are recent immigrants, while others are first, second, third, fourth, or fifth generation Americans. And whereas APA residents use their creativity, enterprise, and skill to build and support a vibrant and resilient economy in Ferguson Township. And whereas Ferguson Township, by adopting this proclamation, commits to making our community a welcome and inviting place for APA residents, business owners, visitors, and students. Now, therefore, the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors does hereby designate May 2022 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And we encourage all residents of Ferguson Township to celebrate the immeasurable value that our friends, families, and neighbors of APA heritage add to our quality of life.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for being here with us this evening. With that, I will go ahead and entertain the motion that you all find in your agenda.
This is Hillary. I recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the proclamation designating May 2022 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in Ferguson Township.
This is Tiara. I second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the matter? Just saying thanks again. I'm glad we're able to do this. Beth, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. And motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to say on behalf of Pan Apita Circle, which is a local group formed in 2021 to raise awareness and appreciation of Asian Pacific Desi Americans and to combat anti-Asian violence. We thank you very much, and we hope to, this kind of recognition has enormous power to advance, I think, our understanding of our community in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Well said. All right, with that, let's go ahead and move on. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Tiara, that was clapping. Got it. Okay, fantastic. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to a resolution of the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania, certifying provision of local match for state operating and capital financial assistance to the Center Area Transportation Authority for fiscal year 2022 to 2023, introduced by Ms. Centrise Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this evening, provided with the agenda is a copy of the resolution establishing the township's contribution to the Center Area Transportation Authority, also recognized as CATA, for operating funds in the amount of $129,976 and capital funding in the amount of $17,620 for the capital fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. Contributions for the 2021 to 2022 CATA fiscal year totaled $123,786 for operating funds and $17,620 for capital funding. Also provided with the agenda is a copy of a memorandum provided by Ms. Luana Oliver, and she is also in attendance to answer any questions that the board may have, either in response to the resolution and the contribution for the local match, and or the letter that she provided to the board that's also attached to the agenda. And with that, I will open it up for questions. Otherwise, there is a recommended motion provided for the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain the motion found in the agenda.
This is Tier. I recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the resolution certifying provisions of local match for state and operating capital financial assistance to the Center Area Transportation Authority for fiscal year 2022 to 2023.
Do I have a second?
This is Lisa, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the matter?
Just one comment, that I appreciated the detail in the memo on the complexity in establishing the financing and the municipal contributions. And so I think, I thought that explained it really well, how difficult that is and how that difficulty is only increasing by participation and different opportunities of transportation, like with the CATA Go. So looking forward to those discussions that were described in there and getting a clearer understanding of all those issues and moving forward with that funding formula.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, and this will be a roll call vote because it's a resolution. Centrise, if you would.
Yes, Madam Chair, I will take a roll call for Resolution 2022-08. Ms. Deneni?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Strickland?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we do have unanimous vote, and thank you, Ms. Martin. With that, we will move on to a resolution of the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the submission of an application for a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the 2022-2023 Center County Sobriety Checkpoint and Expanded DUI Enforcement Program, and authorizing the Township Manager to sign all documents related to the grant on behalf of the Township of Ferguson, introduced by Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, provided with the agenda is a copy of the resolution that does authorize the submission for the 2022-2023 Center County Highway Safety Enforcement Grant application. The Township has submitted this grant for over 10 years. Provided with the agenda is, and within the narrative, provides some very specific information on how the contribution, or excuse me, the available grant funding is based on evidence-based crash data for this local coverage area. It also provides specific information as to how the grant is used. And with that information that's available within the agenda, I'll also acknowledge that Chief Albright is in attendance to answer any questions or to elaborate on this program.
Thank you so much, Centrise, and welcome, Chief. Chief, is there anything that you wanted to add?
The only thing that I really had to add was about 3 years ago, this grant, the DUI, sobriety awareness grant was consolidated with, 3 other traffic enforcement grants. The consolidation was done to make it more efficient and to more or less, give the agencies more money to focus the activities on driving, buckle up, and pedestrian safety. Outside of that, I think everything else is pretty well covered. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for The manager or the chief? Okay, seeing none, there is a recommended motion you find in your agenda, and I'll entertain that now.
This is Lisa. I'll move that the Board of Supervisors adopt the resolution authorizing the submission of an application for a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the 21-22 Center County Sobriety Checkpoint and Expanded DUI Enforcement Program, and authorizing the township manager to sign all documents related to the grant on behalf of the township.
This is Patty, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the matter? Okay, I don't have a discussion on the matter, but I just wanted to take a quick moment, Chief, while you're here, to say thank you. I haven't gotten the chance to say thank you. There had been, no, I'm so bad at knowing time. Some period back, some folks were talking to us about how there were cars racing around kind of near Bristol in that area. And I noticed that after that discussion that you all did maintain a presence there and make an effort there to address that. And I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. So.
Thank you. And one of the other things that we did is we also worked with Public Works to look at some of the signage. And I don't know if you'll notice it, but if you come across College Avenue from Atherton Street, when you cross the intersection heading towards Whitehall Road now, you'll see bigger 35-mile-an-hour zone signs with great big orange triangles on them to help raise awareness that you're no longer in the 45-mile-an-hour zone, that it's 35. So
I have noticed them. I have definitely noticed them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so that was a little off topic, but I just wanted to take that opportunity to say we really appreciate that. So we have a motion? Now, yes, we do have a motion in a second. This is a resolution. It's a roll call vote. Centrise, if you would do the honors.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a roll call vote for resolution 2022-09. Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Strickland?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell?
Yes.
Ms. Denneny?
Yes. And motion passes unanimously, and thank you very much for doing this. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to authorization to engage the Cohen Law Group to negotiate a franchise agreement with Shenandoah Cable Television, LLC. This will be introduced by Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Ferguson Township's agreement with Windstream Cable Services expired in December 2029, and Windstream did not desire to renew the agreement. So the township then was approached in January of 2022 by Shintel Communications. And I received a very brief introduction to the services that they provide in various eastern states, and they have recently started branching out into Pennsylvania. Shintel is a service provider for video, phone, and as a cable provider, as well as high-speed broadband internet services. So as with Windstream Cable Services, staff is requesting to engage the services of Cohen Law Group to assist in franchise negotiations with Shintel. As done previously with Windstream Cable Services negotiations and the agreement, we also partner with the State College Borough to have a joint agreement through the services of Cohen Law Group. It does indeed streamline the process, as well as it allows for a cost-sharing approach. However, Shintel, as attached to this agenda, is an engagement letter for the franchise negotiations for a flat fee of $6,250 from Cohen Law Group. However, it's worth noting that Shintel is paying 100% of such flat fee amount. And with that, provided with the agenda, is a recommended motion for the Board of Supervisors.
I'll entertain that motion at this time.
This is Patty. I move that the Board of Supervisors authorize the township manager to execute an engagement letter with the Cohen Law Group to negotiate the township's, franchise agreement with Shintel in the amount not to exceed $6,250, noting that such payments will be made directly by the Chantel to the Cohen Law Group.
This is Tia, I second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on the matter? All right, seeing none, this will be a regular voice vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we'll move on to the request for a modification or a waiver at 2026 Sandy Drive, which is Center Volunteers in Medicine. And this will be introduced by Ms. Christina Bassett, Community Planner. Christina, welcome.
It got dark on me up here. Pentair Engineering, on behalf of their client, Center Volunteers in Medicine, has requested a waiver from section 22-303, which is the review of a preliminary plan in conjunction with their land development plan submitted. This section of the ordinance outlines the requirements for a land development plan to be reviewed as a two-step process, first as a preliminary plan, then as a final plan. The applicant believes that the proposed updates to 2026 Sandy Drive are minimal and wish that the plan be pushed forward as a minor land development. This definition was omitted from the previous update to the subdivision land use development ordinance, which we have corrected, but this was submitted prior to the update. Therefore, I lost my place in my notes. Due to the lack of definition, staff is recommending that it be approved, as the addition is only 2,228 square feet to the existing building. The Planning Commission reviewed this modification waiver request at their April 25th regular meeting and recommended that Board of Supervisors approve it. So I do see Mr. Chad Stafford from Pantera Engineering on the call. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Christina. I just wanted to get a quick clarification. I'm seeing in the agenda, it said 22-301, and that's in the motion. I believe, I may be wrong, I believe you might have said 303.
Oh, did I?
Just to clarify, it is definitely 301 that we would be incorporating in our motion. That's all I
must have misspoke. I apologize.
Okay, great. Okay, no problem at all. All right. Any questions for Christina or for Mr. Stafford before I entertain this motion? Any questions? Okay, seeing no questions, I'll be happy to entertain the motion found in your agenda.
This is Patty. I move that the Board of Supervisors grant the modification from 22-301 general.
This is Lisa.
Is there a second? That was a second by Lisa, I heard. Okay, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we will move on then to the Center Volunteers in Medicine preliminary and final land development plan, 2026 Sandy Drive. The reason there's a slight modification in what I just read is we just granted the modification for us to make that modification. So, or that change. So we'll be looking at this as preliminary and final tonight. This will be introduced by Ms. Christina Bassett as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification on that, update on that. November 15th, 2021, Pantera Engineering submitted a preliminary land development plan on behalf of their client, Center Volunteers in Medicine. The property is located at 2026 Sandy Drive. The property is located in the planned residential development, PRD zoning district. This land development plan proposes a 2,228 square foot addition to the existing 10,979 square foot building. The owner recently acquired the property and the addition will expand the front of the building. It will be removing the existing covered patio and the addition will expand the front of the building. We'll remove some of the existing covered patios and sidewalks. The new entrance and sidewalks will be constructed. Some minor modifications to the parking lot, such as one space being removed, which is in the front setback, and addition of a tree or two and some landscaping up front. The Planning Commission reviewed the preliminary land development plan at their April 25th, 2022 meeting and recommended approval of the preliminary final land development plan pending any outstanding and staff comments, which are attached to this in the agenda.
Thank you, Christina. I just have one minor procedural question. So we're going to incorporate the word final into the motion because that would be our intention. We want to reflect that in the motion. In the document, though, it's just still titled as preliminary. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this process yet. So is that just going to stay the word preliminary and somebody stamp it? How's that handled in terms of the document I would then go in and sign? Would there be a revision or how's that work?
Yes, since the board just approved the modification waiver, now the plans can be updated to say preliminary/final. So
Okay.
the Pantera will have to resubmit a new document stating preliminary.
Okay.
final.
Okay. But that would be the only change on it, obviously, because we're passing that document. It's just going to make that small update. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, any other questions before we entertain the motion? Any other questions? All right, seeing no other questions, the motion that you find in your agenda, let's entertain that now.
This is Patty. I move that the Board of Supervisors grant approval of the, do I say preliminary/final or just final?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the preliminary/final land development plan.
This is Hillary, I second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Okay, I just want to let everybody know right now, I'm having a computer issue of not responding, so I'm not sure what's going on, but okay, I'm seeing you all now and I'm seeing no other discussion. I cannot get to my agenda right now. This is just, I believe, a regular voice vote. So all in favor of that, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And I'm going to ask Lisa to go ahead and take over the agenda at this time until I can get my computer straightened out because everything has collapsed on me but Zoom. So.
No problem. Up next is contract 2022-C1 Street Improvement Project, and that will be introduced by Dave Modricker.
Good evening. This topic, contract 2022 C1 Street Improvement Projects, was introduced at your April 19th Board of Supervisors meeting. A description of the project is included in your packet as well as an award recommendation memorandum. I won't read through the entire memorandum again. I'll simply note that the motion remains that the Board of Supervisors award contract 2022 C1 Street Improvement Projects in Town to Glen O'Hall-Baker, Inc. in the amount of $793,174.25.
Before we take a motion, were there any comments or questions about that? Hillary.
Hi. Ms. Martin, do you mind sharing the information passed along to you from our solicitor?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Caldwell. I did have a chance to talk to our solicitor, and I asked and inquired about any concerns with awarding the bid based on the previous litigation concerning or involving Glen O'Hall-Baker, and I received a pretty firm response in that there is absolutely no reason as to why the township should not award the bid based on that the response came back as the most responsible, lowest bidder as recommended by staff within the report. And so, I'll let the record reflect that I did have that conversation with Supervisor Caldwell, and I'm now providing the board with the update that I shared with Supervisor Caldwell. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions or comments? And if not, would anyone like to make the motion?
I'll move that the Board of Supervisors award contract 2022-C1 Street Improvement Projects in town to Glenn O. Hall Baker Incorporated in the amount of $793,174.25.
This is Patty, I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? And this is a voice vote?
Yes,
Yes,
thank
okay.
you.
I thought I'd check. I see Hillary's hand up. Yes.
I don't know why I didn't raise my virtual hand that time.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I think with the information that was shared to me from, like, on behalf of the solicitor, I think it puts, like, obviously as the supervisor for the township, I want to make sure that I'm not jeopardizing the township. And it sounds like if we were not to award the contract to this company, we would be. So I mean, I'll have to change my vote to like a yes, just in terms of not wanting to jeopardize the township. But there was discussion about potentially looking at either, and this would probably be like a huge structural thing that we might have to look into, but looking at reframing, I think, either our ordinances or a resolution in terms of like how we determine criteria for responsible bidder. And so that's just something that I wanted to posit to the board, and hopefully that can be an ongoing conversation.
Thanks very much, and thanks to the manager and staff for looking into that and getting us that additional information. Anything else? And if nothing else, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, thank you. And Laura, I'll check with you and see if you are back online.
I'm back online, but I don't mind if you want to finish out the meeting.
I'm welcoming you back to the chair position.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to, thank you, Lisa, to
Absolutely.
contract 2022-C2 Street Improvement Project. This will be introduced by Dave Modricker, Director of Public Works. Dave.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Very similar to contract C1, contract 2022 C2 Street Improvement Projects. West End was introduced to supervisors at the April 19 meeting. I did review the attached memorandum and reviewed the bid awards. And again, this is a case where the board wanted additional time to consider the contract, and staff's recommended motion is that the Board of Supervisors award contract 2022 C2 Street Improvement Projects West End to Glenn Baker Inc. in the amount of $1,102,807.45 to include both the base bid and the alternate bid.
Thank you, Dave. Any comments or questions? I'll entertain the motion you find in your agenda at this time, which Dave really already just read for us. So if you want to just move it, I'm fine with that.
This is Patty. I move that the Board of Supervisors accept the motion as just read by Dave Modricker.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Lisa, I'll second.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll just reiterate that, yes, we're probably, I won't speak for others, but I know for myself, I'm making this vote under duress, but I will make it to preserve the township. Sometimes we have to do these kinds of things. But I would certainly be in favor of any kind of reframing that we might be able to do in the future to avoid this situation, if that is at all humanly possible.
So I'll just share with the Board of Supervisors now that if that's something that you want to have on for a future agenda discussion, I would just suggest that it go through the consent agenda process. Send me an email and copy the chair, please, and go ahead and suggest the topic to which you'd like added to the discussion for a future meeting, and any additional information that you'd like to be presented alongside with that introduction of agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right, with that, if we're ready to take our vote, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. And motion passes unanimously. We are now on to communications to the board. Is there anything that anyone would like to share this evening? Hillary.
Yeah, so a constituent in my ward did reach out to me about the English Meadows Condo Association in terms of the stormwater impact fee and their belief that it was improperly calculated for that condo association, noting the differences between condo associations and HOAs. He's requested that I come see the location, take photos, and hopefully, and I did suggest that he reach out to staff as well and encouraged him to attend a meeting to present this. So Ms. Martin, Mr. Mondricker, if you do hear from someone in the future, it's probably because I referred them. But if they haven't reached out through email or by phone, by the time of our next meeting, I will certainly provide updates to folks.
Thank you so much. And thanks for helping connect those folks with staff. Other offerings, communications to the board? I'm seeing none. I'm hearing none from the room, I believe. So we'll go ahead and move on to calendar items. You can see them there. All the usual suspects are coming up. And if there's nothing else,
I do have a random question.
Okay.
How often do we do coffee and conversations? How often is that? Is that like do we just pick it, or is it just like a
good question?
Yeah, that's a great question, Supervisor Williams. So we do coffee and conversation 4 times a year, and they're pretty, how do I say, like formatted in terms of, in the January, we generally are out at Baileyville Community Hall. And the one in April, we try to find a business or some community location. This, as you know, this last one was hosted at Discovery Space. The one in July is generally always hosted at the Naked Egg. And we generally have a really good turnout there, alongside with representatives too. We have attend the Naked Egg, or excuse me, the coffee and conversation that's generally held there at the Naked Egg. And then we have one in October, and that usually is our 4th one that closes out the year. So all of the coffee and conversation gatherings are on our website with the dates and times provided, which I'm happy to provide that link to you via email. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I knew that we had those. I just didn't know how they were. Now that I know you do 4 of them a year, and I didn't know, if there was extra ones, but thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not going to say the date in case it's actually not public. I think it is public though. The Public Works Open House seems like it would be publicly open. But is that an internal open house? I'm sorry if I shouldn't have said anything. I take it all back.
No, I'll find the date.
It's by
May-
invitation. Go ahead.
May 19,
And it is open to the public open house.
11 to 1. The intent was a kind of a regional public works celebration with other public works folks, employees, staff, police, because it's public police week, elected officials. We hadn't necessarily advertised it as open to the public, as we're trying to kind of get a head count for food, and we didn't really make parking arrangements for hundreds of people.
Okay, this is a good point. So it's not public in that way, but we're working ourselves up to maybe one day having a public shindig. All right, sounds good. Okay, looking forward to that event as a little smaller test pilot for a larger one. Okay, if nothing else, I do believe we've come to that time where I can accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Patty. All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Good night.
See ya.